They'll say, can I have some of your purple berries? Yes, I've been eating them for 6 or 7 weeks now. Haven't got sick ones, probably keep us both alive. Wooden ships on the water, very free and easy. You know the way it's supposed to be. Silver people on the shoreline, let us be. Talking about very free and easy. Horror grips us as we watch you die. All we can do is echo your anguished cries. Stare as all human feelings die. We are leaving, you don't need us. Go take your sister now by the hand. Lead her away from this foreign land. Far away where we might laugh again. We are leaving, you don't need us. It's a fair wind blowing warm out the south. Over my shoulder, guess I'll set a course and go. Yeah. Just, you know, just busting out my favorite human rights songs, y'all. And just digging into the Deep Cuts Human Rights Catalog. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you, Dorado Peace and Placerville, for putting on Human Rights Day. Yeah. Yeah. This number's by Elvis Costello, and though it was made most popular for me by a singer called Robert Wyatt. And it was written during the high days of Queen Margaret Thatcher in England. About the regular people trying to get by. This is called Shipbuilding. Is it worth it? A new winter coat and shoes for the wife, and a bicycle on the boy's birthday. It's just a rumor that was spread around town by the women and the children. Soon we'll be shipbuilding. Well, I ask you. The boy said, Dad, they're gonna take me to task, but I'll be back by Christmas. It's just a rumor that was spread around town. Somebody said someone got filled in for saying that people get killed in the result of this shipbuilding. With all the will in the world, diving for dear life, when we could be diving for pearls. once again. It's all we're skilled in. We will be shipbuilding with all the will in the world, diving for dear life when we could be diving for pearls. It's all we're skilled in. We will be shipbuilding with all the will in the world, diving for dear life when we could be diving for pearls. Yeah. So that's my understanding of that was, that Mrs. Thatcher said, that England was just a nation of shipbuilders and that we should, get back into building warships and, sailing into the Falklands. And I think Elvis's message was that that England was more than that. We were not just there to build warships. So, yeah. So, one more, and yeah, okay, cool. Well, listen, this is a little bit controversial and a new song for me to do, but I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot. I was telling my friend Jim about it today, and dear God, hope you got the letter, and I pray things will make it better around here. I don't mean a big reduction in the price of beer, but all the people you made in your image, see them starving on their feet, 'cause they don't get enough to eat from God. Can't believe in you. Dear God, sorry to disturb you, but I feel that I should be heard loud and clear. We all need a big reduction in amount of tears. And all the people that you made in your image, see them fighting in the streets, 'cause they can't make opinions meet about God. I can't believe in you. Did you make disease and the diamond blue? Did you make after we made you? And the devil too. Dear God, don't know if you've noticed, but your name is on a lot of quotes in this book. And us crazy humans wrote it, you should take a look. And all the people that you made in your image, still believing that junk is true. Well, I don't know if you do, dear God. I don't believe it. I can't believe him. I don't believe in heaven and hell. No saints or sinners, no devil as well. No pearly gates, no thorny crown. You're always letting us humans down. The wars you bring, the babes you drown, those lost at sea and never found. And it's the same the whole world round. The hurt I see helps to compound that Father, Son, and Holy Ghost is just somebody's unholy hoax. And if they're up there, you'd perceive that my heart's here upon my sleeve. And there's just one thing I don't believe in. It's you. Dear God.
Thank you, Paul. Let's everyone give Paul another round of applause.
One, two. I'll come back later with some happier songs, okay?
Yeah, that last one was. So thank you all for being here in honor of International Human Rights Day. It's so great to see members of the community gather together, especially during these really intense times that we're facing. So knowing we all have each other to lean on is really important and valuable. Thank you, Green Room, also for hosting us. And Laura has a special, I'm Marina, for those of you who don't know me. I'm going to introduce Laura Goulart, who has a special introduction prepared for us. So please join me in giving a round of applause to Laura.
Let's give a round of applause to Rena, who was on the committee with me for this human rights event. I want to give special thanks to the El Dorado Progressives and the El Dorado Peace and Justice Community, and to the Green Room Social Club for sponsoring this event. There will be baskets being passed around if you feel compelled to give a donation to support this event. We would love it. Also, I would like to give special mention to Layla. Where's Layla? Who I was in touch with the Green Room and that helped me so much to get everything organized like it is. Thank you for coming out. You are the community, you are the neighbors in our community, and community is important. And I'm glad that you're here, especially for the human rights. Let me see what else. I want to give special mention to the art displays you may see as you come in to the left of the books that are for sale there by the some of the speakers and poets that you may want to look at. There's some art, and there's the art behind me, and the art was done by Karina Del Carmel. Karina Del Carmel, we are lucky to have in Placerville. She's an international artist, Mexican surrealist, and has amazing paintings. The paintings behind me, one is called From Wall Street to Chiapas, and the other one is entitled Borders. So feast your eyes. Karina Del Carmel. I think that's all I have to say on that. Did I cover everything? The poetry, we have poetry, we have music, because this is the arts, and I'm gonna get more into that. And since you brought that up, who brought up poetry over there? Okay, Paul. I want to know how many right now in the audience are artists, musicians, poets. Okay, good, because we need you. We need you. Before, I think when you walked in the door, you were able to get a couple of handouts. and you were able to get a copy of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and 10 reasons why human rights are important. The gentleman in the back of the room is holding that up right now. If you haven't got copies, please get them. They're for you. And I'm going to talk about what human rights is, but before I do, I want to read a quote by Howard Zinn. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. And if we do act, in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents. And to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory. So let's talk about human rights in the community. Human rights to protect human interests, everyone's interests, is ongoing work. It is a guiding light for our higher selves that we may strive always to build communities with equity and for diverse human environments to be respected. And people sometimes don't get the difference between civil rights and human rights. Civil rights are granted by a government to its citizens, while human rights are rights that all people have, regardless of their citizenship, alienable rights to be human. You have an alienable right to be human. So this is what we're doing today to celebrate. I already lost my voice, excuse me. Human rights protect human interests, everyone's interests. It's ongoing work. It's a guiding light for our higher selves that we may strive always to build communities with equity and for diverse human environments to be respected. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, with adoption in 1948, a year after I was born, recognizing human rights to be the foundation for freedom and justice, is the most translated document in the world. These rights were created for you and me to provide everyone with basic needs, protect vulnerable groups from abuse, freedom of speech, equal work opportunities, access to education, and more. And my favorite, Eleanor Roosevelt, considered her work on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to be her most important accomplishment. And this is a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, which is one of my favorite quotes. Where, after all, do universal human rights begin? In small places, close to home. So close and so small, they cannot be seen on any maps of the world. Yet they are the world of the individual person, the neighborhood he lives in, the school or college he attends, the factory, farm, or office where he works. Such are the places where every man, woman, and child seek equal justice, equal opportunity, equal dignity, without discrimination. Unless these rights have meaning there, they have little meaning anywhere. Without concerted citizen action to uphold them close to home, we shall all look in vain for progress in the larger world. So look for human rights in your community right here on Main Street. And my favorite part of human rights is the arts, because I feel that the arts play an important role in human rights advocacy as an expression of universal human experience, increasing empathy. Artists are important in every community and essential in healing, reconciliation, and community building. What can an artist do? You out there who are artists and poets and musicians, what can you do? Tell the truth, the good, the bad, the beautiful, and the ugly. Our joys, our sorrow. Artists can show the world to the world, reflect back to us, and create future visions to say what others fear saying, to dream, to imagine, and dare. The arts affirms or confronts. We need artists to make us feel uncomfortable, to offer release from life, write a story, paint a new world, make music to reach our souls. Let us work together to create the we must want to live in. The steps necessary require everyone's effort and participation. And this means a personal commitment in our daily lives. Together, we can create a human rights community now. Thank you. And with that, I would like to introduce our Poet Laureate of El Dorado County, Stephen Meadows. Stephen Meadows is a California poet with roots in both Ohlone and pioneer soil of his home state. He was born and raised on the Monterey Bay of Central California and received his secondary education at UC Santa Barbara, UC Santa Cruz, where he earned his Bachelor of Arts degree and went on to earn a master's at San Francisco State University. His published poems in anthologies and collections nationwide, The Sounds of Rattles and Clappers from the University of Arizona Press, The Dirt is Red Here from Heyday, books, and his first book also, Releasing Days, and also Fire and Rain, Eco-Poetry of California with Scarlett Tanager Books, edited by Lucille Lang Day. Ruth Nolan and Red Indian Road West from the same press. And in addition to his poem, he can be found on Spoken Word CD, Red Smoke, Dawn Wind, with background music by David Blonsky, as well as appearing on the CD from Mignon Jally entitled Under the Buffalo Sun. His latest publication, Winter Work, was released November 2022, and he is the current Poet Laureate of El Dorado County. Stephen.
Well, thank you very much. I'm really honored to be here. I'm honored to appear anytime I can in this community. You guys are wonderful. I'm just going to read one poem. It's a poem that some of you at least may have heard before, but in some ways, I think if I'm to be remembered for anything, this poem might be the one. In the Water Over Stones, for Isabel Meadows. Your voice, Isabel, is a quail's voice as the sun's song ticks in the brush. It is the hawk's voice and the heart's heat of the rabbit in the parched summer grass. Nearby, in the river, in the water over stones, it is a willow voice. It is a crayfish voice in the hollows, in the darkening places. At first light, it is the wind's voice, the mouth of the river Tule voice, the voice of 100 breezes. The sun marks out the red madrone, and in the canyons, it is a redwood voice, a sycamore voice, sweet-scented. In the spring, it is the lupin voice, a blue, white, and purple coverlet voice all over the hills and the meadows. On the river banks, as the set fires burn and the steelhead run, it is the hunter's voice, flinging the gleamers silver on the sand. Though the houses of rich men now cover these hills, it is your spirit voice, your evening voice, your voice of the western waters. The stars hang out over the point of wolves. On the edge of the world, the sea lions call. The otters break open abalone. It is the voice of the land. It is the voice of bright shells. It is the voice of the valley and the mountain, Isabel. It is the voice of the people, too. It is the weaver's voice. It is the young girl's voice, the gatherers and the singers and the farmer's voice, the wives and the children's and the old woman's voice. It is the Indian voice and the whalerman's voice and the voice of the servant escaping. It is the voice of your face across the years, Isabel, in my grandfather's face, in my father's face, and in my face as well. It is the voice of the ones on the edges, Isabel. It is the voice of those ones with no voices. Hawk and rabbit, quail and brush, water and willow and crayfish and stones, wind in the canyons, daylight through limbs, the lupin, the steelhead, the cook fire's call, beans and tortillas, your memories, Isabel, talking to us all. Thank you very much.
So our first speaker will be Melissa Lobach. She is developmental manager of the American River Conservancy. Melissa began working for American River Conservancy during spring of 2016. Wow, you're pretty new considering all you've done. I'm impressed. And had managed development and fundraising, event planning, marketing, and communications, volunteer programs, and on-site improvement projects. She's a certified California naturalist and certified interpretive guide with an extensive background in training, instructional design, project management, and she does private tours. Her project she's going to speak of, her topic, resources are not created equal. What about local rivers and land? Melissa Lobach.
Thanks, Laura. Thank you all for having me today. Again, my name's Melissa Lobach. I'm the Development Director for the American River Conservancy, and you got a general gist of what it is that I do. And today it's my pleasure to talk to you about what ARC does. Many of you in this room already know about ARC, so I don't have to belabor that point very much. So what I really want to get into then is more of a connection between resources, humans, and our connection to resources, because I'm certainly no expert on human rights, but I think I know, and I've thought a lot more about resources. So let's start first with what ARC does. We are your local land trust. We are located in the Coloma Park here in Placerville, where we've been since 1989. And we've been preserving the American and Cosumnes River watersheds since that time. And over 35 years, we have preserved over 30,000 acres in perpetuity. That's a pretty big number. So we focus on habitats and agricultural lands, recreational spaces, cultural resources, and we do that through purchasing land from willing donors and sellers, and we also offer conservation easements. So that is the mainstay of what ARC does. ARC also has a stewardship branch, and we steward the lands that we have retained. At this point in time, it's about 15,000 acres that we steward with the help of very dedicated volunteers. Thank you for the fancy lighting. I appreciate that. That definitely helps me look more alluring, right? Yeah, if you own 1 acre in your backyard, you have a sense of how much it takes to steward 15,000 acres. And again, we couldn't possibly do any of what we do without volunteers and donors, folks like you all. And then the third branch of ARC is environmental education, and that's been going now for 34 years, and we've put over 20,000 people through environmental education, people of all ages, nature camp, certifications like California naturalists, climate stewards, and also other educational outreach opportunities. And I'm going to talk to you about one of those today, which is Ripe Area. But I want to mention that we put so many people through environmental education to bring up that next generation of land protectors. And this year alone, we've already put over 2,250 people through environmental education. So not bad. We are also responsible for over 35 miles of trails in El Dorado County. If you've been out to Magnolia Ranch or Cronin Ranch or down to Acorn Creek, you've been on an ARC provided trail in our communities. And not a lot of people realize the reason why those places exist is because ARC went in years ago, purchased the land, donated it, or gave it over to a state entity like BLM or federal entity like the Forest Service, and now you can access that land so that you can be connected to beautiful places, and maybe some of these places are places that you truly love. And also ARC manages 272-acre Wakamatsu Farm, which is between here and Coloma on Cold Springs Road. It's the site of the first Japanese colony in America, and it's an amazing place. It's basically an outdoor nature playground where everything that ARC does comes together, the conservation, the stewardship, and we do a lot of environmental education at Wakamatsu Farm. So it's a beautiful place to come. It's also our main event venues, which leads me into the next thing I want to talk about, which is our Ripe Area project. So this year in spring, we partnered with Myrtle Tree Arts, who is here today. Awesome. And our third partnership with them, and we put together Ripe Area. We were the recipients of a $117,000 grant, which we used to pay artists and musicians and all kinds of makers and creators in the community, and also ourselves, to actually put on a series of workshops, about 20 of them, in the community, and especially in our diverse and marginalized spaces in our community, to bring them into the concept of leveraging the arts in activation and activism for the environment, really to uplift the arts and to uplift the environment at the same time. So we had a culminating festival at Wakamatsu Farm on June the 2nd. We were very excited to put it all together, and it far exceeded any of our wildest expectations. We had music, dance, storytelling, poetry, sound, presentations, paintings, a kids zone, demos, vendors, a parade, and we shared native plants for art and food, which was really awesome. That was something I was very keen on, and I wanted to make sure that we made happen. So I'm happy to say that over 100 artists, performers, and specialists joined us. Over 850 people came to Wakamatsu Farm on that day alone, and the whole project reached over 1,000 people in our community, and I think that's just amazing, right? Pretty cool. Everything, by the way, was free because of that giant grant. So we did such a great job. We got all excited, and we wrote another grant, and we got another grant, and now we have $81,000 for next year to do Ripe Area on September 21st of 2025. Super cool, right? Super cool. We're going to redo it. We're going to make it better. It's going to be even more exciting, and you're all invited. And if you're an artist or an expert in native plants, especially native plants, please see me, and I will give you my card, and we can connect, because next year's festival is Ripe Area, the Art of Native Plants. We really want to emphasize native plants, and actually today I'm going to go down to the Native Plant Society's statewide chapter and talk to them all about it. It's a very, very busy day for me, and hopefully drag them into the whole scene too, right? So we want over 1,000 visitors this time. Again, you're all invited. Environmental advocacy and action is what Ripe Area is all about. So we're going to do the same thing: artists, educators, demos, hands-on learning experiences, and really a lot of fun for an entire family. And we want to show the benefit of native plants and habitats for native plants so that people can really understand how you can grow your own food in your backyard, and it doesn't have to be something difficult to grow like tomatoes or lettuce or something like that. You can actually learn how to use the acorns that are growing on the oak trees in your backyard to make food, which is an interesting thing, right? And by the way, sustained people here for thousands of years, right? So food, yeah, come for food, fun, and free or low-cost activities. There's a little sheet on this back table here with a QR code and or a link to a website that is brand new, hot off the presses. You can download a calendar invite, or reserve your space on your own calendar, or you can sign up for a reservation reminder for next year on our website. So yeah, I know it's a long time away, so those are some resources for you. So I'm going to switch gears now. Because I could go on and on about ARC and what we do and all the many things that we have on our events calendar at arconservancy.org/events. I could go on and on about all those things, but you can find them all on our website, and I encourage you to do so. Again, arconservancy.org. I want to talk a little bit today about our relationship with resources. Now, again, I'm not an expert on human rights, but I have thought an awful lot about resources and the connection between resources and humans and our relationship with resources. So I would like to provoke you with some questions to help you think about your relationship with resources and what resources actually are. And I'm also going to share an original poem with you, as we're going to lead all the way up to that in the end. So let's start first with definitions. The origins of the word resource comes from Latin, which means to rise, and Old French, which means rise again or recover. It's interesting, isn't it? But I challenge you to ask yourself, what resources truly recover? Which ones really rise again when they're all used up? I can really only think of one resource off the top of my head that rises again, and it's not on this planet. It's the sun, right? That was a trick question. We use up a lot of resources, right? As humans, we tend to think resources are all for us. And we actually define resources, according to the Oxford languages on Google, as their usefulness to us. Okay, so let me share some definitions with you. The first and most common, easiest definition of resources is available assets. Next, a stock or supply of money, materials, staff, and other assets that can be drawn on by a person or organization in order to function effectively. Authorities said they lacked resources, is an example. Third definition, a country's collective means of supporting itself or becoming wealthier as represented by its reserves of minerals, land, and other assets. You getting a theme here? The example that Oxford provided is Japan's exploitation of commercially important marine resources. That's a very racist example, actually. Somebody should probably give Oxford some feedback about that, because of all the possible definitions and examples of resources, why choose that one? Anyway, the next one is an action or strategy which may be adopted in adverse circumstances, as in, sometimes anger is the only resource left in a situation like this. Next definition, one's personal attributes and capabilities. Attributes and capabilities regarded as able to help or sustain one in adverse circumstances, as in, we had been left very much to our own resources. So if I had a projector today, which I had prepared my PowerPoint for, I took the liberty of highlighting all of the humanity connections to the word's definition on this sheet of paper, and then all of the natural world connections on this piece of paper. And look at all the gold. Look at the blue. Interesting, isn't it? So, where do all resources come from? Do they come from people? Do they come from the planet? Or do they come from something else that you believe in, which I'm not here to tell you what to believe or think, but maybe we can all agree that the resources that we tangibly use on this planet all come from this planet. They come from water, they come from soil, they come from air, they come from minerals, and all the things on the periodic table that all come from this place that we live in. So, here's my dilemma. I don't understand how we can have equality or rights on this planet when we aren't taking care of this planet. And that's that connection to people, right? I also believe that resources and access to resources are fundamentally at the heart of every conflict that ever happens on this planet. Every conflict. And it has always been that way, and it will always be that way. And at the core of it, when you talk about human rights, it's the access to resources, isn't it? It's the resources that you have by the definitions that I shared. It's access to the tangibles and the intangibles, which are all resources, right? And I think you could also make the argument, or at least I feel, that everything on this planet can be considered a resource. Right? Am I making some sense here? Okay, so this is where we get into the connection between humans and resources, because some people have a really hard time about thinking about humans as resources, because then our mind starts going into human trafficking and et cetera, et cetera. Well, I used to work for a big department at a big phone company, and many other big companies have human resources departments, don't they? According to UMass Global, the overarching goal of the HR department is to help employees build and maintain positive relationships with their employers and vice versa. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a global resource department, right? That'd change a lot for our world, wouldn't it? So if you don't think humans are resources, I want you to ask some other people. I want you to ask your doctor, your insurance company, the people that you buy things from. I want you to ask your family if you're a resource to them, and ask yourself if your family is a resource to you. That's what I mean about people being resources. I don't think anybody in this room would agree it's okay to sell people. But that is a resource to some terrible, terrible situations on this planet, right? So I looked up quotes around resources and humans just to see what the wise guys had to say about this, right? So I'll share a few of you. Wendell Berry said, "The earth is what we all have in common." Pretty much says it all, and I 100% agree with that. Next one, I kind of agree with. By Gandhi. Wise guy, right? "The earth provides enough to satisfy every man's needs, but not every man's greeds." I could see that. I can see that from a conceptual, that makes sense, and I get the idea behind it, but why did we need to go to the moon? And then Kofi Annan said, "Access to safe water is a fundamental human need and therefore a basic human right." I think many of us in this room might agree with that, but I think all of us can agree that that's not happening on this earth at all in many places, and that water is the gold of the 21st century, and all of us are going to find out what that means. So, moving on. I looked up synonyms for the word resources, and I'm going to get to my poem here in a bit. All right, I'm moving fast. Synonyms for the word resources. Beginning just with any letter, right? In this case, R. Rise again, recover, resort, reserve, refuge, reservoir, riches, remedy, relief, retreat, reference, relative, relationships, representative, route, or ruffle. Also, a river, a reindeer, roots, and rain. My favorite is rock and roll. Letter S. Saving, substance, status, stock, safety, store, support, supply, security, state, sponsor, service, staff, strategy, song, stake, salary, share, sports, silver, or a stash. My personal favorite, stuff, okay? Also, a species, a stream, a spring, or a shower. Letter P. Possession, property, prize, profit, profusion, power, position, a prince. Proceeds, present, population, protection, prestige, paycheck, a puff, pocket, or a pork belly. Right? You're getting the idea. We could go on and on and on because, again, remember, my thinking is that everything on this earth is a resource. So, I'm going to read you my poem now. Ready? And if I'd gotten a chance to read all of those words, you would have found that I got to list all of my favorites on the end of each of my lines. And my poem starts with, "It is all happening now." Ready? It can rise again, recover, reserve riches, ruffle, remedy, and be both rock and roll. What is the origin? Is it a status stream of stock, supplies, stakes, shares, and stashes of stuff? How is it all used up? All them prized possessions of profuse populations with pork barrel-filled purses. Why is it all gone? Happening in money, manners, mobility, and more masses of mamas. Where does it all go? Right the hands holding hoards, hustling homes, and not harboring hope. Who can make a difference? Now change the cash flow of capital consumption by crafting credits and courage. When is it time for change? So consider the source. Natural resources support you wherever you are. Please support your own natural resources, thinking globally, acting locally, and please become a member of American River Conservancy.
All right, thank you, Melissa. I loved hearing her poetry too. It's great. So next on our schedule, we have Jacob Sandiego, who's a friend of mine. I'm going to give you a little bio. Are you going by Jacob or HJ now? Okay. HJ Sandiego hails from Placerville, California. He is a human, fond of telling stories and exploring the wilderness. Jacob writes about pilgrimage, road trips, and the prayer of the heart in a world of distraction. H.J. Sandiego is immensely grateful for the experiences, wisdom, and humor that people have shared with him throughout his travels. Jacob also has, is it chapbook or zine? Zine. He has a zine available out in the front, which I've been skimming through. It's absolutely beautiful, so it's $10 out front, so definitely take a peek at that. And please join me in welcoming Jacob H.J. to the stage. Thank you.
Hello. So I'm pretty grateful that I grew up in Placerville. I wouldn't have wanted to grow up anywhere else. But even in a small town with a great community, it's still very much possible to feel invisible, alone, or even overlooked. And we carry a lot of stuff within us, that can make us go inward and feel like it's a prison. It's hard to get out of. And I want to talk about this image right here, and it's Our Lady of Guadalupe. You're probably familiar with it, but most people just kind of see it, or a lot of people just see it as like a logo, or like, maybe like a cool tattoo. But it has really deep, significant meaning, especially to the Mexican people. But I just wanted to share her story because I think it could possibly resonate with you. So, imagine Juan Diego, and this is about the 1500s. He was a poor farmer of indigenous background. And at the time, his culture was on life support because the Spanish had come in, they had seen the human sacrifices, and it kind of freaked them out. And so they basically decimated their temples and tried to, some, not all, but some tried to force conversions and different things that basically they had to, that their culture suppressed, who they are was suppressed. And at this time, Juan Diego, he's going to church, and a beautiful lady appears to him, and she's radiated with light, and she addresses him, as her son, and she says that she wants for him to go deliver a message to the bishop. She would like to make a church, a space specifically for the indigenous people, so that they would have a refuge during all this madness, right? And he said to her, I'm only a poor man. Why would you come to me? And I think that's significant because in all of Marian apparitions in history, Mary always appeared to people that left a lot of the church folks scratching their heads. They're kind of like, you don't go to mass every day. You don't do your rosary every day. I've even seen you steal something from the store. Like, why would she appear to you, Because they weren't perfect as who they thought, perfection or holiness should be, right? But she often always appeared to the lowly and to those who, and during times when there was civil war, apartheid, genocide, really to just always usually say, why, basically always to call for peace and reconciliation and to say, why can't you guys just get along, basically? So the tilma, which is right here, this image, the bishop did not believe that the Virgin Mary appeared to Juan Diego, thought he was cuckoo. And so he's like, I'll need proof. And so he goes up to this mountain, and it's during a winter storm, and there's these beautiful roses that are blooming, despite all the odds of that, right? And he gathers them as his proof. So he gathers them in his tilma, and he walks to the church, and then when he drops the roses, this image is on the tilma. And, to this day, people do not even know how it survived because it was out in the humid Mexico for 500 years without protection. It was made on cactus fibers. Scientists, artists have studied how it looks. There's no explanation of the technique or the colors or anything, how it was used. And, but what it was is a codex. And so for the indigenous people, the equivalent of it would be as imagine if you saw an image and it was your genealogy. It was everything of your family and your history, and it was only things you knew, like stuff maybe you journal or don't share with anyone. It's basically, imagine that on an image. That'd be like the equivalent of what the tilma is to the indigenous people there. It had symbols and signs that just truly spoke to their soul, and I had planned to kind of go in depth on that, but I think there's this poem that kind of captures what it meant I obviously don't know, I'm not Juan Diego, but, kind of guess what he might have been feeling. This is a reflection, and it's called A Poem to Our Lady. Am I not here, who am thy mother? What dost thou fear? Deep in the tangled brushwood of my hours, you are a sudden clearing, Madre mia. Amid the choke of thorns, incredible rose, and where my fears sit huddled in their trembling, you are a soft word spoken, O Maria. In heart's cacophony, a splendid chord, brave alabaster out of hope shards, builded. What need I dream of beauty? I who know curve of your cheek, the raven hair, low winging, soft swell of lip, the delicate flight of brow, exuberance, be hedged in Christ, oh, sweetly by this rumorous smiles, so wistful bands in sorrow, find your yearning, find your haven. In this gentle fold of olive hands, authentic glimpse of heaven, Madre mia, your image, my supernatural dividend, on sorrow and my pledge, past all devising, of paradise day, what shall I fear of pain, of death, of diverse ignominy? When you are here, Maria, when you are here. I'll say one thing too is she appeared as a mestizo woman, which is very important because a mestizo was someone who has Spanish and indigenous heritage. And they were considered the lowest of the low because they weren't accepted on either side. And for some, it was like even a disgrace to be this. And she appeared as a mestizo woman, and truly reconciling and saying that everyone has dignity, and you are truly seen and you are truly loved, and especially on the Spanish side, to this gospel you preach, does it not say that everything on this earth is a gift to be stewarded accordingly? So you're not only destroying the world, but you're destroying, a person's culture, and that each person is made in the image of God, worthy of respect. I think that was about. Let's see. So I think that's a good message. Her message is one of an invitation of healing, and unity and love, and that under her mantle there's a place for everyone to be seen and to be heard. So I want to leave you with this poem that I wrote. It's called, I think it has a title. Actually, it doesn't. Okay, here we go, untitled. Amidst the crowd, I drink from desolation's dram, adrift in the city's ceaseless procession. Yet in solitude, I hear the steady breath of my fellow man, and in their pursed lips, I catch the codex of creation. There's magic in the mantle that veils each cacophony. For a moment, the choir of commuters' horns tolls like the bells of Compline, urging even the skeptic to try and assemble a prayer. The abbot of my mind once said I'd dream and never rise, yet I behold each horizon as it opens, an ethereal canvas. Mother of Shakespeare's sonnet, father of Donatello's chisel, blessed Gabriel, remind a sheep such as I, drawn to thorns and thickets, not to miss the supper prepared for by our beloved. Our Lady's fiat has fermented and filled an inexhaustible cup. Receive all you faithful, beggars and bankers, good Samaritans and faulty priests. May we join the seraphim and the cherubim in their praise. Holy, holy, holy. Until the moment comes, my heart cultivates this hidden landscape, sanctifying the weeds and invasive species with my tears, trusting that through divine mercy, even the wild will bloom. So I think that's about it. And I'll just say, just as the Virgin Mary came to the people of Guadalupe, she comes to us today, speaking as a mother to her child, introducing us to the source of life, the one who longs to be known, and may her message bring you closer to one another. Thank you.
Great pleasure. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, William O'Daly. Has served as a university professor and literary journal editor-in-chief, software instructional designer, independent writing and editing consultant, and environmental technical editor. He currently is supervisor of technical publications for the California Department of Water Resources and lead writer for the California Water Plan, the state's strategic plan for sustainability and equitability, managing water resources. All these roles have been rooted in his passion for poetry. He has translated 9 books of Chilean Nobel laureate Pablo Neruda. His most recent Neruda translation, Book of Twilight, was a finalist for the 2018 Northern California Book Award in translation. Oh, there's so much here, William. So I'm going to skip down to, because I want to get you on the stage. He received the American Literary Award in 2021, is a 4-time Pushcart Prize nominee, and co-founded prestigious Copper Canyon Press. He has received national and regional honors for literary editing and instructional design and served on the National Board of Poets Against the War. May I present William O'Daly.
Thank you so much. Wonderful introduction, Laura. Thank you. Currently working, but not for long. I'm going to be retiring. Thank you. Retiring from the California Department of Water Resources, and when people ask me where I work, I'll say that, and then 30 seconds later, they'll go, oh, you know that water district you work for. No. And Melissa did a beautiful job of introducing water as a resource. And I think Laura today asked me to introduce to you the California Water Plan. And the reason that's important is because it's really heavy. And other reasons are, it is the state's strategic plan for managing and developing water resources for current and future generations. It's updated every 5 years by California Water Code statute, and it has enormous input from the public. Those water districts I was mentioning, water agencies, We put out the plan in a public review draft, and anyone in the state can comment on it in developing it towards final draft. And as a poet, I should back up just a little. I was working for an environmental consulting firm since 2006. That was interesting. I learned a lot. And then I had my own consulting firm, working for 5 of them, 5 of these consultants. And in 2013, I thought, you know, what would it be like to work on the inside? The inside, meaning in government. Could I make more of an impact there? Could I contribute more? So when a research writer job came up at DWR, is what we call ourselves. By the way, we love acronyms. I'm sure you'll get to love them too before this is over. I jumped at it, got the job, and jumped right into the California Water Plan. That plan in 2013 was 3,500 pages. And so, with 3 volumes. So it's the encyclopedic version of the plan. And in preparing it, I've met a very large number of scientists, worked with those scientists, climate scientists, fisheries scientists, you name it, and engineers, this poet. And I will say this, I was so struck by the integrity of these folks, by their diligence, by their willingness to be wrong. And then, well, science thrives on that, and they go and get it right. And so it's, you know, very dismaying to me to be at this juncture where science is not being respected. Like they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. Experts are not being respected. But these folks have families too, and they have kids. And especially the climate change scientists so wish they were wrong. I can't even tell you. I've had a number of conversations with them. So what I'm going to try and do with this talk and introducing the plan to you, it'd be so easy to fall into the weeds. As you can see, it's substantive. But I'm going to give you just a sense of what it is, so that if you'd like to engage with it, comment on it. And you can find it, by the way, you Google California Department of Water Resources, and when you go to the website, just search for California Water Plan, and you'll get there. But also, there's also a number of other opportunities involved, which you'll find on the website if you're interested in water, which we've been calling, since 2013, the essence of life. The 3 themes of this water plan, 2023, which was published in March, is addressing climate urgency, which is the overarching theme, strengthening watershed resilience. We're trying to get folks, again, Melissa did a very nice job, trying to get folks to manage water with a watershed perspective, from headwater to groundwater. That is the system. That's the holistic system. And we're trying to get water agencies, districts, and all of those folks to collaborate. Regional water quality control boards, to collaborate, not to give up jurisdictions, but to collaborate together up and down the watershed to solve our most pressing issues, many of them having to do with the changing climate. The theme I'm most interested in today and would like to share the most with you is achieving equity. And equity, again, there's been a very nice introduction to that. What it acknowledges is that we don't all start in the same place, from the same place. We don't all have all the same resources to overcome our challenges. And so equity is a way of viewing the world to raise all boats. And that's important because another thing we seem to be losing touch with recently is how we're all interconnected, how we all rely upon each other. And I don't believe there's a truer truth in the human world than that. We need each other. We provide different things for each of us. So equity has been a theme in the water plan since about 2009 through 2013 through 2018 to this particular version. And the overarching goal, and I'll read a bit of this to you because I want to get it absolutely precise. We are trying our very, very best at DWR to manage the state water project, that's the aqueduct. We are producing thousands of pages of plans, reports, the water plan, white papers every year that are available to the public, preparing for droughts and floods, operating dams, recharging groundwater aquifers, and offering grants. And that's something a few of you here might be interested in as well, if you aren't already aware. So let me read to give you the strongest flavor of the plan. The inside front cover welcome message, which I wrote for the plan as lead writer. In the spirit of previous water plan updates, Update 2023 continues to broaden the community of interest that has fulfilled an integral role in developing and evolving the plan over decades. It was first published in 1957. Reaching the hearts and minds of as many Californians as possible is key to the success of the water plan's vision and its recommendations. Only by working together to meet current and future challenges will we achieve the sustainability and resilience vital for our water systems, natural and human-made. Further, Update 2023 considers diversity in California's economy, ecosystems, cultures, and ideas, not only a strength, but essential to collaboratively meeting those challenges. Update 2023 is written in clear, concise, and straightforward terms, with awareness of and respect for the histories of the state's diverse peoples who call California lands and waters home. As we continue to learn and act collaboratively, the equitable sharing of our knowledge, effort, and resources will ensure a prosperous future for all Californians. Ah, the deep state. We're really bad. So, as I was mentioning, equity has evolved in the plan as a central consideration and something we do our best to work through to manage and create opportunities for accessible, affordable water. It also relates to representation or lack of it in decision-making bodies related to water resources. It's fueled by the recognition that we don't all start from the same place. Cal Matters, excuse me, the independent, nonprofit, journalistic organization quite accurately estimates that 1 million Californians a year lack drinking water, clean drinking water. So again, that's a central concern of the plan. And the two foundations that address that issue are one, the Human Right to Water Act, which was passed in 2012 by Governor Brown, or introduced by Governor Brown, passed by the legislature in 2012. And it was we became the first state in the union to legislatively recognize the human right to water. And what that means is, quote, every human being has the right to safe, clean, affordable, and accessible water adequate for human consumption, cooking, and sanitary purposes. The other foundation of Update 2023, and you're going to like this. This has a great acronym. The Safe and Affordable Funding for Equity and Resilience Program, the SAFER program. I know. What it is a set of tools, funding sources, regulatory authorities designed to ensure that Californians who currently lack access to safe and clean water get it as quickly as possible. The program aims to reach sustainable operations, and a lot of the problems that these communities have, these under-resourced communities, you can build a project, but the operations and maintenance, they don't have the money for that. This addresses that as well. So through the Safe and Affordable Drinking Water Fund, which was passed in 2019, $130 million goes to address these issues every year. The basic unit of our concern with equity in Update 2023 is what we call frontline communities. And if you allow me, I'll read you that definition. Frontline communities are those that experience the first and worst of environmental consequences. In other words, frontline communities are already living with the negative impacts of inequities in water management, and thus are susceptible to future negative changes. Residents are more exposed to existing water sector vulnerabilities, for example, water shortages, water quality issues, affordability challenges, and future ones such as impacts of climate change. Well, the future's here. I think 20 inches of rain falling in 3 days in Sonoma County attests to that, atmospheric rivers. But it's not just vulnerable communities, what we think of as vulnerable communities. Mansions are sliding into the sea around Los Angeles, and this is just one effect. So this is a very good example of why our interrelated interests around water and climate change need to be addressed yesterday. We can't waste any time at all. And another reason for that is because according to all the scientists I've worked with since 2006, they were wrong about one thing, and that is climate change is accelerating at a much faster rate than they predicted. And there are many reasons for that. I'm not going to go into them because I don't want to spend all day here, and we have so many other great speakers and poets and musicians. But I will say a couple more things, and then I'll read you a few poems. It's really important that we link what we call backbone infrastructure, that's the human-made infrastructure that links watersheds and regions in California, with restoration of the natural infrastructure. That's absolutely important. Thank you. We start to address this roundly in Chapter 6 of Update 2023, titled Understanding and Addressing Equity in the Management of California Water Resources. The chapter talks a lot about environmental justice, defines it as the fair treatment of people of all races, cultures, and incomes with respect to development, adoption, implementation, and enforcement of all environmental laws, regulations, and policies. Affordability is a huge topic in the chapter. That's under a lot of scrutiny by the state. The pandemic put took a big chunk out of that. We're back at it now. And we are being monitored by a few different NGOs, which we more than welcome. They help keep us on track, offer suggestions, and often volunteer to help. The other very interesting thing to me about 2023 is that we have an inaugural tribal chapter, Chapter 7, Strengths and Resources of California Tribes. And the reason, well, the few reasons this is so wonderful is because, one, it's written overwhelmingly in the voice and by tribal leaders. In fact, most of them are on our tribal advisory committee for the water plan. It's really interesting, and there's a lot of first-person testimony in the chapter. But what's even more interesting to me specifically is, we refer to tribal ecological knowledge, traditional ecological knowledge, TEK. And the way tribes are looking at it now, and what they're telling us directly, our tribal liaisons, is they would prefer that we use the term indigenous knowledge. And the reason is because all of these knowledges, all of this knowing from a tribal perspective is unified, is integrated, just like our water systems. So one of the great examples, and you'll find this in the chapter should you go to read it, is the Klamath River dams. How many of you are familiar with that project? Oh my gosh. We have taken down the federal government, the state government, and the tribes of the Klamath River region have all gotten together, and after a huge fish kill in 2002 that decimated sustenance fishing for the tribes, again, the call came out, which it had for a few decades, to take down those hydroelectric dams, open up the river, and restore not only the fish, but the riparian areas around the Klamath River. It has been incredibly successful. It was done incredibly well. And one reason for that is indigenous knowledge. Centuries of closely observing the land you're utterly and totally dependent on. You didn't go get your fish at the store wrapped in cellophane, right? Absolutely and totally dependent on a healthy ecosystem for sustenance, for survival. Well, that knowledge, that huge storehouse of knowledge and observation, when teamed with data-driven Western science, is incredibly powerful, and this project very much attests to that. The recovery of the coho, steelhead, and other species has been, Chinook, has outstripped all predictions, even by the tribes, and especially by our Western scientists. They're blown away. So this is a model for the future, for future collaborations. And I'd like to close this part of the talk with a recommendation. Not only the water plan, and I do have copies back there. I think I brought about 10 of the full plan. Great Friday night reading. And there's also a standalone executive summary back there, which is only about 20 pages rather than about 350. and it covers the plan very well. They're free, first come, first served. But anyway, feel free. And one more recommendation, a book that has brought me great solace the last few years of my personal life have been a little traumatic. This book has, every time I'm feeling unsettled and all, I go to this book, Braiding Sweetgrass. You guys know this. What am I talking about? It's beautiful. Robin Wall Kimmerer. I'm reading it a second time now. And Robin is a member of the Citizen Potawatomi tribe in Oklahoma, or I should say nation in Oklahoma. And it's her personal experiences, her own familial experiences, professional experiences. She's a quote-unquote Western scientist and an indigenous native scientist. And how those two work together within her and what she learns from plants is extraordinary. Well, thank you for that part. I'm going to read 3 very short poems that came out of a tour I did with my current publisher at that time of New Hampshire. We had a reading tour going on, and we turned it into a water tour as well, where we went to all of these water bodies and observed them and wrote about them. Dream of Mount Liberty. Skeptical bell, fierce certainty of dust. The mountain, the snow-covered mountain, no longer hears its own ringing. It knows no fear. In its language, will does not exist. Its rivers carry the past in snow that no longer falls. Bit of irony there. The dream of the waterfall. The old stone stream in the arteries of the gods. In every moment, the river changes. Our bodies change. Love changes everything, and we will never be the same. The river empties into the burning field, collides in light and shadow, where in the caves of forgotten animals, the prehistoric dream is in motion. It flows on in darkness. It does not stop. In Franconia Gorge. Is this ever-descending water human tears? Do they mean nothing? Will the stone heads that weep in the late afternoon fade away? Without you, how will we weep when we need to? How will the earth smell after the last drops of rain? In the last poem, this is a reminder to myself. It's based on a painting by Gary Edward Foster called Got to Dance, and it was rehearsed with the Dave Brubeck Jazz Quintet and then performed with them, and they helped me with the music. It was a reminder to myself to realize that everything I do has some ripple effect in the world, and I need to decide always what that ripple effect is going to be. Heron dances over the world. Even you're not watching as you spread your black tattered wings and step among the colors of the physical world. Spindly legs conjure the symbol for infinity in red earth, in fresh blue snow and white mist. Endangered islands bloom, the wetland fills with mountain shadow. In a parallel universe, your reflection moves to its inner calling, to folded granite, music of the waterfall. You live as hidden origami, with creases and abandon, intricate patterns that resist the receding shore. You circle, an equation neither eyes nor lips can touch, motion that can't be solved or written on the tongue. You do not weep, you do not stop to preen among the battered dunes. Your cry rings iron from irony, recalls the silent bells, laments the love I've forgotten. You breathe closer to the swaying aspen than to the orphaned moon and the tide's pull. In this dance, you create, like a beetle, your own being. Thank you so much.
For those who didn't hear that, his book is available as well as his translations of Neruda in the lobby, so definitely take a look at that. And thank you, Laura, for that. So next we're gonna have a musical break. We are going to be bringing up Nate Lishman and Jillian Sakar. And the only thing that they wanted to say and what they wanted me to note was their gratitude to be a part of this event, especially during this time in our history. So they're gonna go ahead and get set up, so it's a good time to stretch your legs, maybe grab a drink from the bar. Hi, Melinda. Hi. And yes, and then we will return shortly with our musical act.
Check. Hello, hello. You guys ready?
Not quite yet. You need more? Yeah? Okay. You need anything else? They're all top. You don't have to start.
Perfect time to start. Perfect time to start. That was it's like Marco's on the left. Whenever you're ready.
We start now? Whatever.
No?
Yeah, I don't
You
care.
wanna wait a little bit.
Oh, we're gonna do first song. We're gonna do Gain Control, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd wait just a few minutes. Let people get in here.
Cool, that's it. Beat demons. Elevator music. Some elevator music.
Why she sent everybody away? I don't know why she sent everybody away. Head to the bar. Yeah, I would too. Nothing personal. I just hate to waste a pretty song without people listening.
We'll draw them in.
Huh?
We'll draw them in.
I know. We'll get it done. All right. What did you say? God damn it. Okay, we'll draw them in. Okay, okay. If you're ready, if you're
What a
ready.
beautiful event and beautiful people here today. It's always darkest before the dawn.
Boys to get us some in.
And are you guys? Do you guys want to go?
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, there we go.
All right. Our musical duo is about to get started. If you want to start making your way in, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Trio today.
Trio, I apologize. And what is your name?
This is Steve Schultz.
All right. Sorry, Trio. And Steve, I was hearing you during sound check. I'm really excited.
Last of a dying breed. All right.
Ready?
Yeah.
Thank Thank you.
Ready?
As I walk this wicked world, searching for light in the darkness of insanity, I ask myself, is all hope gone? Is there only pain, hatred, and misery? And each time I feel like this inside, it's one thing I wanna know. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding?
Cause each time feel it slipping away, just makes me wanna cry. As I walk through troubled times, my spirit gets so downhearted. Sometimes, oh sometimes, when others strong, who are the trusted? Where is the harmony? Sweet harmony. 'Cause each time I feel that slipping away, just makes me wanna cry.
What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding?
Whoa.
What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled, and I follow my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts. And all around me was sounding. This land was made for you and me. When the sun came shining, I was strolling through the wheat fields waving, and the dust clouds rolling. As the fog was lifting, a voice was chanting. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking, I saw a sign there, and on that sign it said no trespassing, but on the other side it didn't say nothing. This land was made for you and me. Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking that freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Yes, this land was made for you and me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, at the beginning.
So this is Nate Lishman. I'm Jillian Secor. And this is Steve Schultz.
I think we're gonna leave. I think we can leave this all here. Is there? Leave it.
Here it's, yeah, we're gonna bring the projector screen down. Can I help in any way?
No.
You're gonna sit? Okay.
We're gonna grab one of these chairs because May is gonna come up next and she's gonna sit.
Perfect.
Perfect, thanks. We'll have her adjust it. See like what works for her. And maybe while we're doing this, let's just push these back while we're doing this.
Yeah, we got the projector right here, so we're really close. This one only needs to go back a small amount.
Need help?
So she isn't here to get jealous.
I'm like, oh. Okay.
Okay, we need to keep this program moving along. So I do want to say that this next piece has a trigger warning. So for those of you who have maybe experienced some trauma, domestic violence, sexual assault, or things of that nature, I do want to let you know that that content will be present in this next piece. So I just want us all to be mindful of that. I'm bringing up to the stage someone that I admire and who is a part of this community, who has made an impact on my life. And I'm very honored to give you a little detail about her. May Flores is a former award-winning actress and continues to be an advocate for women's rights and gender equality. As the Director of Development for Stand Up Placer, she works tirelessly to support survivors of sexual violence and create safer, more equitable communities. A two-time survivor of a sexual assault herself, May shares her journey of resilience through her TEDx talk, I'm Still Here, which she'll be sharing with us today. Sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional. Inspiring others to heal and thrive, her advocacy has earned her global recognition, including the Europe Aid Global Impact Award, the United Nations Global Goals Ambassador Award, and the WNBA Redefine Women Award. Previously celebrated for her role in the sci-fi cult classic Atlantis Down, May was honored by the Filipino American Hall of Fame and has a day named in her honor in the state of Virginia. Right? What? That is amazing. Her unwavering dedication to uplifting others continues to make a profound impact worldwide, and most especially in her local community. And she's the one who inspired me to do the Spoken Word Sundays here at the Green Room. So I owe her a lot of gratitude for friendship and inspiration. So please join me in welcoming her to the stage.
Hi, everyone. So that's the first time I've allowed anyone to read my bio in that way, and that's the short form, because when I came to Placerville just a little over 3 years ago this fall to redefine and change that path. The awards came because of tragedy, and I feel like people need to know that I don't feel like I have, for a long time, deserved those awards, because in order for me to have been an immigrant and experienced tragedy in a country that my family fought so hard to come to, felt ironic. So I kind of hid that part of me when I moved here to Placerville. But life kind of changes you a little bit. You redefine yourself, you try new things, and music was a big part of that. And Main Street Collective was a major part of that change. And ironically, Paul Godwin is here, who started that here on this stage during the pandemic. And it has grown to so much more. And music was just this hidden part inside of me that I didn't think I deserved to be a part of. And I finally can say I do. I deserve a place in it. And so I don't want to do the TED Talk, as this is the first time I've ever said it since I've moved out west, and it is going to be the night I retire it. So for you to really know who I am as a member of this community, I hope that this does not define who I am, but it just shows you how much I've grown enough to say it in a way that's believable, because it is eight years ago when I last said this at a TED Talk. So it's called I'm Still Here. Let's go back in time when we were teenagers. Imagine it's New Year's Eve and it's almost midnight. You and your friends are dancing on the dance floor. The DJ is playing a consistent stream of dance music produced by the likes of Quad City DJs and Genuine. You know the generation gap here. Wasn't Return of the Mac a hit song during that time too? You look around and everyone's excitement is growing with every moment that gets closer to that time. That special time when a single teenager wonders, who's going to kiss me? And even more ridiculous, maybe I'm gonna find the love of my life tonight? Isn't that what kids our age think of at 18? Every one of your friends are in formal clothing. Usually this is your style, but tonight you can't imagine keeping something that tight on any longer. You whisper to your friends and sister, I'll be right back. Aware of the time and not wanting to miss any more of the fun than you have to, you run to your hotel room, strap your sandals off your feet, hanging by your fingertips. You see the room and fumble for that room key from that tiny pouch in your hand. There's nothing to this. You've slid that key card in that slot plenty of times already in the last few days. You push it down and hear the beep as the little light at the door turns green, telling you to press the door handle down. But as you lean your body forward, ready to go through that door, you hear heavy feet running and speeding by you. It's not a run, really, but a long strided power walk, and it's not going past you, you quickly realize, but it leaps swiftly behind you and stops. You know that sound, the combination of vigorous and eager, like a cross between I need to pee right now and get the hell out of my way. All of a sudden, you feel a heavy weight and pressure throwing you aggressively forward. Whatever it is, it whips your door open, pushes your legs inside the room, and throws you into the dark, unlit bedroom. It takes a moment to understand what is happening before this force. This powerful, monster-like being lands on your back, and you realize you are trapped. There's nowhere to go. The rest is just darkness, this forever mystery that you will never, ever find the right answers for. What happens in that darkness brands you for life and labels you a victim forever. New Year's Eve will never be the same. You will never wear that dress again. You will never see your body in the same way again. As a matter of fact, you will never feel safe with anyone ever again. Not in that carefree 18-year-old way. Now imagine time passing, 16 years to be exact. You're an adult and you have children, maybe even a daughter. Years have passed and you've moved on as best as you could with your life. Maybe even created new reasons to smile again, to feel joy again. You've convinced yourself you are happy. But then what people you meet do not know is this. You have a significant amount of regrets. You have hurt yourself and even worse, others. Your smile is faked. You have never really loved or ever trusted anyone. Relationships are hard, real connection, disingenuous. And true intimacy, the security that one finds in another at dawn, or the comfort and protection found under the covers after a nightmare, forget it because it doesn't exist. But you moved on, right? The past is the past, right? Isn't that what we always say? Isn't that what Instagram says? That was then and this is now. Then one night you're out with a friend as an adult, as a mother, and your kids are waiting at home, and you're walking alone back to your car. With keys in hand, you're wrestled to the ground and you land exactly back on your stomach in a nearby park and in the dark once again. You're 18, all over again. All the self-defense classes, all the therapy, heck, all of the forgetting comes back to that surface. You're forced to finally deal with it and face it. Is this what my life has been reduced to? Two life-changing physical experiences that I'm forced to somehow believe is my own normal? So much so that I started to believe this would happen again and again. What am I supposed to do? Once is a lot, twice is a message, and what actual life lessons do I take away from a series of life experiences such as this? Mentally and emotionally, do I allow myself to just crack? It's not just me anymore. There are kids, teens, and you're doing it all on your own without support. So do I keep myself silent in the dark, taken back to that park and that room, and do I give up? As ridiculous as it sounds, no. Every day I said no, no more, because I am fucking getting up. I told myself that it's time for me to tell the world and everyone who disrupts it that I am different, not just in a sarcastic and repetitious way, but I am different. And the world will expect me to fail. They'll give me a pass. They'll say this is my intended path. I'm a wreck. This is what happened to me, and this is what defines me. She's not supposed to succeed or thrive or be happy. How can she, they'll whisper to one another, when it happened not once but twice? Your life becomes a sick headline on a tabloid. They'll even think, what did she actually do that this happened twice? I mean, she must have done something. They'll even say, if this was me, I would totally fight back and no one would ever do that shit to me. But really? Then there are those that will give me a pass, pat on the back, even a warm hug, and think, I support you. I totally understand why you can't achieve, and I feel so bad for you. I guess I'm meant to break down. I'm supposed to have a completely different future based on what has happened to me. But really? I refuse because I'm still here. I'm right in front of you. Stop and look at all of us in this room. We've all gone through different kinds of versions of hardships and traumas. Some worse than this, some lighter than this, in the dark, in the sun, in the gray, a divorce, a breakup, a death, a loss, rapes. And yet we're still here. We didn't fall apart, and we don't have to, not in the way we are supposed to, and not in the way we are expected to be. Because humans are all connected. What happened to me actually happened to all of us. It happened to you. Violence has no gender. Sadness doesn't discriminate, but we are still here. We live our lives with so many regrets, with our own traumas and our own hang-ups that stop us at our tracks and hold us back from being what we're supposed to be, what we dream to be, before any traumas have ever happened to us. Now it seems impossible. And trust me, I hate myself half the time when I look at myself in the mirror, and I tell myself this, often with tears and anger and weakness, but I tell myself to try and let it go. I still do it every day. I did it this morning. I did it just 2 seconds before I got on stage. But every single day, I remind myself that I'm fortunate enough to have the choice to make it. Not in a fake way, not in a real, I'm staring at the mirror and convincing myself, I want to do it all. I want to be a success. I want my name in lights. I want everything. I want to restart, wake up, start again, try new things, be a poet, be somebody in politics. I don't know. I'm going to do it all. And we need to tell ourselves, I will do it all. That what happens in the dark does not define us, and I will be everything no one expected me to be. And I will change my trajectory right now, the minute that I get off the stage, the minute that I get a hug from all of you at the end saying how brave I was to say the story. We can make that decision together. We're just going to shift it and change it, and you're not going to define me for what you heard today. Because you already knew me for over 3 years, right? So laugh at the ironic good fortune that we're all still here, the way we tricked it. Tell it, look, guys, I'm still here. Thank you.
Thank you, May. Recently, May and I have been having some heart-to-heart conversations about how important it is for women to be able to be empowered by other women, to not be torn down by gossip or slander, and to be able to be brave in the face of our traumas and our history, and to be embraced by those that we love and have a sisterhood. So it's the human right for women to feel safe. It's a human right for all of us to feel safe in this community, around each other, and within our relationships with other women especially too. So thank you, May, for your bravery, and thank you all for holding space for her story and in sharing that with all of us. So I think Laura is going to be coming up and introducing, so if we all take a deep breath and exhale, and we'll move forward. Thank you.
Not sure which microphone. I'm going to introduce to you the last speaker. Dr. Michael Saunders is a long-standing community leader and volunteer in El Dorado County. Michael is an elected official serving a second term as director on the Georgetown Divide Public Utility District and is the alternate special district commissioner on El Dorado LAFCO. Michael, what is that? Okay. I'm not so good at that. Dr. Saunders will be an incoming board member to the Marshall Foundation for Community Health. He sits on the executive committees for the El Dorado Progressives, El Dorado Democrats, California Democratic Party Rural Caucus, and the State Democratic Party as our Assembly District 5 executive representative. In the area of water, Dr. Saunders is on the executive boards for the Regional Water Authority and the Association of California Water Agencies. He's going to talk about strategies for action, safety, and support with updates from Civil Rights Now, which I am also a member of. Michael, get up here.
Just get some time to get the projector set up here.
Now, where's Paul on piano?
Exactly.
All right, woo! Garrett. If we could give Garrett a hand of round of applause, we cannot even smack without him. He is a technical genius.
That should be good enough. I think that'll work. Go here. I'll have to move the mic over. All right, can you guys hear me from here? Yeah. All righty, so that's pretty good enough. So, yep. So as how many teachers are out there? As we know, we continue to repeat stuff, so I know what we talked about before. I'll pass me. So basically, civil rights are those legal protections that give support and equal opportunities and protections under the state government and legal protections. Those are civil rights. They're set up to be equal among the same races, creeds, religions, and those are protections under the states. They do have intersections with human rights, and in large part in our country. So what are some examples of civil rights? We know voting, fair trial, education, housing. Anyone name any others? It should be healthcare. Now, human rights we know are, thank you. Human rights are those rights we get once we're born. They should be right to live, right to freedom, right to privacy, right to asylum. There was a sheet around with the 29 articles that were initially put out in 1948 from the International Human Rights. There are related rights based on it in California, as William O'Daly said, California has water as a human right. So some of those related rights, which are related to the human rights of safety, education, and freedom, is clean air and clean water. We can be impacted from things like climate change and nature. That can impact our human right of clean air and clean water. I know many of us went through fires from here, from King Fire, Caldo Fire, Mosquito Fire, many of the small fires around. We've had to wear masks for the particulate matters. It affects the water. Remedies for this is based on the size of your community, the location of your community, wealth and influence. So if you're in a community like Beverly Hills, you may recover from this quicker than a place like Grizzly Flats. Corporate can infect our human rights. Think of things like oil tanker oil spills, that railroad train that derailed, that spilled all of those chemicals, DuPont. In dealing with this takes a lot of money. So now you're going to require the state, but corporations can have money to outpower the state, so you're going to need non-governmental agencies, lawyers, to kind of override those human rights. The state can impact human rights through their own policies and ordinances. Zoning can be a big thing, and we know relating to redlining and disadvantaged communities, it could lead to things where you have a factory on your street, so you are continuously impacted by not having clean air. The connection between government becomes even stronger when the protections of human rights are based on your legal protections. There can be direct state denials, which we are probably going to see start happening. The ways in which those are enforced easily is, this is the one big thing we're looking at. Article 9 of Human Rights says no one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. We are protected from that as a civil right unless you are not a citizen or they consider you illegal. Now you do not have protections under civil rights. You have no human rights. When you're relying on the international community in the US, that's a bad place to be. They get buy-in from the populace by dehumanizing, otherizing, so when citizens no longer support the people that are going to be targeted, that helps to support and reinforce what the state will be able to do. This is where we're at now. So what are some of these strategies? And I don't know if you even saw someone talked about, I think it was on 2 days ago, where they even said safe harbor of someone who is supposed to be deported will be considered a felony. So they've already stated that prior to coming in. So some of these strategies, it's going to be basically on us. It's going to be a little different this time around. This time around, we're looking to, what we're doing is we're creating hubs. I believe Maureen has a sign up, and we'll have hubs in different areas to help protect those that may be targeted, those families that may be in trouble, and we'll have the hubs to kind of have a way to protect it. So there'll be, in each area, there'll be a leader for a hub to coordinate. We are working on creating safe houses and safe places. There'll be cards going around where people may be able to call to go to a place if they are being targeted or affected. What we're gonna have to do sometimes, if you see someone who is being targeted, you may have to be getting between them and the person that is trying to target these people and give them a chance to move away. So these are the things that we will be looking at as we go forward. A lot of these things will have to be done low tech because we have someone who's high in the tech industry, and even Google and all of those things can be searched. So a lot of things are gonna have to be paper, low tech, encrypted messaging. So the plans we have is in terms of supporting those that do get targeted, in terms of supporting their businesses, supporting them individually, having ways that we can provide support to them and their families. And each hub also has links to different people, and we'll kind of create our own underground because we're pretty much going to have to take charge ourselves. That's as much as I'm willing to say publicly, but if you join the hub, you can get more, and if there's any questions, I can entertain them. Don't have a set number, but there are some places we have already contacted, like in terms of agriculture. We know there's vineyards, we know the rafting area, we know there's hotel and hospitality and domestic that have people that are undocumented. So there are different families, different groups. I know there's one group that works with them as well, and we're trying to just keep track and keep count of any families we have and add them to our hubs. But don't have a specific number. And we do have a little bit of a buffer being as sanctuary state, but we also are in the red areas. So the main thing is to keep involvement with law enforcement. So we may be doing things again like the tailgating thing as anything that keeps people away from law enforcement, because that now gives them an opportunity to get into the ICE system. That's us. That's us in this room. So if we are hiding someone and they find you and the person, they can charge you, they said. That's not technically a crime yet, but. Yes. That's what they say, but as it's not a thing yet, so we will see what happens. We have a long way to go, but it's also going to depend on who's the Attorney General. And I mean, there's going to be a lot of legal challenges, so those are the other things we're trying to do also is get a list of lawyers, because it doesn't help you when you're sitting in jail to argue if this is legal or not. I haven't gotten anything yet. So we just came from the Association of California Water Agencies, where we're talking Central Valley and other places that hire a lot of people in terms of agriculture and water. There's that connection, and they are working on it, but nobody has stood up and said anything yet. So here, small person, just a group of us that aren't doing it. We're just doing El Dorado County. We do have people throughout, and I'm also working through different caucuses and things like that. So there are also many different groups. There's Indivisible, NorCal Resist. So I'm pretty sure this is a statewide effort. Yeah, so we already have three of the local ones are on this our hub list as well, and we're working on those in the different area. The five hubs we basically have is South Lake Tahoe, Placerville, The Divide, Cameron Park, Shingle Springs, and El Dorado Hills. So our hand in the back. Churches and working with faith-based groups. So we do have, there's some of them are in our hubs as well. We've identified them. It's always an ish at the end of it. It is a legal sanctuary, and it always has been, but it's always an ish. It depends on what happens. The most significant thing will be day one to see what executive orders comes out. So I know the state has put money into a legal fund, but if there is that order that militarizes this as an emergency, then we're in new territory that we haven't been in the U.S. So I do not know about any of those. I know the ones that are in our divide. I know the people and the families for those. So your best bet is probably to find someone to talk with them and figure out if they're there with family or community or if they're being worked. Yeah, so I'll contact you and we'll find out, let us know where they are and we'll see if we can get someone to go over and talk with them. And this is not only in terms of our undocumented families, but we also have 4 different strategies as well. So the same hubs are going to be working for any civil rights, human rights crossovers, the LGBTQ community. We're trying to come up with the same kind of angel system that they have in Sacramento, and anybody that wants to help with that as well. So, all right. More questions? Okay. Yeah, I can't see anything. All I can see is lights. I'm like, correct. Thank you for those comments. So I believe Maureen put the sign-up sheets at the back, so if you can sign up, any little thing you can do will be helpful, and we will. Oh, another question? Yeah, I can't see anybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Onward. We don't have much time. I am pleased to introduce to you Gene Burson, who came to us from Nevada County, drove in today. Thank you very much, Gene. He's a poet, He's published 2 books of poetry, Raveling Travel, Open Book Press, and Work Ethic of a Shopping Cart Shaman, Hip Pocket Press. In the late 60s and early 70s, he coordinated the Pegasus program at San Francisco State University that became Poets in the Schools. Under that program, he conducted many poetry workshops throughout the Northwest. These included Native American schools on reservations, a one-room schoolhouse on the Wyoming prairie, and what was known then as reform schools, as well as urban and rural schools. He taught high school in Oakland at Oakland Tech and was active in the Bay Area poetry scene for many years and continues that work in the Northern California foothills where he now lives. He's also worked as a copywriter and as a union member of Local 510 in the trade show convention industry. Gene Burson.
Well, thank you very much. It's an incredible presentation. I'm very inspired by William O'Daly, Melissa, and considering the general subject of human rights makes me realize how many different ways you can approach it. Water, of course, been very important to me. I've been a lifelong swimmer. And so I'm going to read just 3 small things. This one is called Columbus Day. I remember swimming in Aquatic Park, coming out of the water, still numb, pausing on my way to the shower. There was a small gathering at the shoreline, a news camera ready to record something momentous. A few feet offshore, a man of the street, by the looks of him, stood in a rowboat, his tweed coat sagging on his uneven shoulders. He was supposed to be Columbus, coming ashore for the 6 o'clock news. Some North Beach Italians with media connections, presumably descended from immigrants, were about to commemorate the great syphilitic navigator by reenacting Columbus' discovery of America. He seemed a little shaky, but stood ready to do his best. They were talking him through it. They'd even given him a helmet with a plume. Just act natural, the director said. Okay, now step out onto the sand. He bent forward, a hand shaking toward the gunwale. The boat rocked, an oarlock rattled. He faltered and fell into the water. His helmet, trailing its sad feather, spun beside him. He looked up apologetically. In his red face, you could see all the things that had gone wrong in his life. Regaining his feet, he sloshed ashore, his pants soaked, his sports jacket wet. A stagehand handed him back his helmet. Despite the mishap, the reporter still held the microphone up to him. "Do you know where you are?" he asked. The man couldn't answer. It seemed a million things were streaming through his mind. "You've reached a new world," the interviewer offered. Some of the crew were turning aside, trying not to laugh. It was a mild October day, no one on the beach except me shivering in my trunks and swimmer's cap. Despite the cold, something about this American vaudevillian skit made me feel obligated to witness it to the end. Alcatraz floated dreamily in the distance, softened by a white haze. There were no Indians about, and we could all see that Columbus was homeless. Lost my marker here for a second. Well, an October cricket posts a personals ad. I saw you at the kitchen window, listening to the space between us. Forgive my forlorn sound, a single cricket at this time of year. But this is our only opportunity. I know you hear me. There are so few of us now. In August, there were too many of us. You couldn't hear me. We sizzled like a field on fire, waves within waves, every voice conjuring for a listener. The solitude we feel now, the few of us still singing, has a stranger allure. Our songs no longer overwhelm the quiet. They are as much listening as singing. A raven's wings scissor the air over the meadow. Schubert is playing from the other room as you stand at the window. He would understand this silence we listen into. Come outside, my legs sing. Feel the hair on your arms rise and lean with the wind following my violin into late fall ravines, where the mist subdues the sound of traffic beyond the trees. Those who sing in October sing to enliven your cold cheek. Evoke a frosty plume, a gasp. Answer me. We stand within a terrible pause. My brethren are dead, disappearing beyond memory. Glaciers so fragile a cricket cracks them loose with his song. Let's enkindle between us, in the space between species, what we're afraid to hope for. Let's sing as stars shake a raiment over this temporary immensity. Call me, however you can, I will hear you. Point of view. William F. Buckley is interviewing Muhammad Ali on YouTube. Buckley snidely reveals his rat-toothed smile, interrogates Ali with polysyllabic words as if he were setting out traps. Ali looks at him in a calm, unwavering assessment, then says, "I've only got a high school education and don't know what them words mean." Such a forthright answer dispels Buckley's strategy, so he reframes his question. Ali looks at him again and firmly explains, "I look at things in racial terms because I have to look at things that way." This reminded me of an incident Rob told me. Rombo was giving him a lift back to the city after putting in a trade show in San Jose. It was aisle carpet night, the wee hours, and they were stopped at the light. A car full of big black guys and Rob, who is white, in back, scrunched in between Otis and Mac. Rombo was at the wheel. Kenyatta was next to him. As they waited for the light to change, a squad car pulls alongside. Rob, a bit of a joker, looks at the cops and silently mouths, "Help me." A mocking twinkle in his imploring look. Rombo catches it in the mirror. The light clicks green and the cops take off. Rombo sweeps his arm over the seat and gives Rob a swift back of his hand, then spells it out for him as they get going. "Everybody in this car got priors." Rob says sheepishly, "I'm sorry." It was funny, though, Rombo admits. Everybody laughs in relief. That's probably enough, huh?
Hi, I'm going to read my poetry, a couple of poems. Actually, one of my poems and then two other ones. But as far as my bio, it's too long to go into. So I'm just going to say that two passions of mine, you probably already know if you know me, is poetry and human rights. And I'm the former poet laureate of El Dorado County, emeritus, and I am a former human rights commissioner. So that's my bio for now. Finding humanity. This is my poem. Suddenly she doesn't know where she belongs. This new America, not her grandfather's choice today, only a mirage of the country she was born into, where justice no longer speaks in her language. She crosses oceans and borders, long days of travel till her world turns blue, cobalt salts, indigo waves crashing. The surf sings, "Welcome back to the Azores." At the feet of her ancestral land, a beach of black rock to embrace her. From the voice of a conch shell, her grandfather guides her to find humanity, a sacred relic in the caldera. Ilya Kaminsky is a Ukrainian-American poet, a very good poet, and he was born in Odessa, Ukraine, still has family and friends. And one of the things that I wanted to bring before I read this poem is that when you live in an area where there is war all the time and bombs coming down, you have to still live a normal life, believe it or not, and people manage to do that. And he claims, he says, that's what I see in Ukraine. When my family is there at night, there are air raids, but in the mornings, people go to cafes, and there are lines to get married, sometimes as long as a block. And this is what we need to see in the West when we speak about war. Not just the horror that our American TV shows us, but how people survive the grip of war. And so what he has done with others is because of course, the Russians against Ukraine have killed thousands of innocents, leveled cities, and caused mass migration of millions. What keeps the people in Odessa going despite the bombardment and constant air raid sirens? For many, it's their children, their creativity, their love of life, and love of the world, love of words. But children often find themselves alone in bomb shelters, during electricity outages, bombardments, and nearly endless air raid sirens. So he's managed to start a poetry studio in Odessa for children and other adults as well. I'm going to read you a poem by a 14-year-old girl named Marna. Good afternoon, sister. How is it in heaven? Quiet, yes. Without fear and night? We're in the basement talking of you, sister. Explosions again and again. Mother whispers, thunder. Mom insists, thunderstorm. But see, the war stares at us. I can still see the men with guns. Your thin figure, mother shouts, and my soul zigzags to heaven. Next to God, it is calm, and no one tortures us, sister. Only your doll is awkward without you. Many dolls without children live here. Here in this country, many awkward dolls. Cars, bears, and tattered jackets, dresses, pants. We remember you. We are without you here in Ukraine. And this is my last poem by the 23rd United States Poet Laureate. She's a Native American, Joy Harjo. Once the world was perfect, and we were happy in that world. Then we took it for granted. Discontent began, a small rumble in the earthly mind, then doubt pushed through with its spiked head, and once doubt ruptured the web, all manner of demon thoughts jumped through. We destroyed the world we had been given for inspiration for life, each stone of jealousy, each stone of fear, greed, envy, and hatred put out the light. No one was out without a stone in his or her hand. There we were, right back where we had started. We were bumping into each other in the dark, and now we had no place to live since we didn't know how to live with each other. Then one of the stumbling ones took pity on another and shared a blanket. A spark of kindness made a light. The light made an opening in the darkness. Everyone worked together to make a ladder. A Wind Clan person climbed out first into the next world, and then the other clans, the children of those clans, their children and their children, all the way through time to now into this morning light to you. Joy Harjo. I'm going to introduce to you our last poet. Estella, are you here? Yes. Good. Estella Victoria Cordero is a wonderful poet, wonderful person who, despite not feeling well, came here today, and I thank you for that, Estella. She's a married mother of 4, was born and raised in the hillside neighborhood of El Sereno, Lincoln Heights area of East Los Angeles. She's a dental hygienist, graduate of USC, and an entrepreneur. Estella published her first poem in the Coiled Serpent anthology by Los Angeles poet laureate Luis Rodriguez and Tia Chucha's Press in 2016. She subsequently has been published in the anthology Los Angeles Poets for Justice by Los Angeles Poets Society Press and Drylandia's Hombre Lobo Stories by Ponte Las Pillas Press. Estella has also translated several children's books to Spanish, including The Big Scary Virus by Be Me Media, released in summer 2020. She is an alumni of the Community Literature Initiative through the Sims Library of Poetry. Estella, please come up here.
Hello, everybody. How are you guys doing? I'm having a great time listening to you all. Beautiful people here. Very thankful to have been invited by Rena, Lara, the Green Room, to be with you all and share stories. As Mr. Daly, and I believe it was Mr. Pearson, I'm not sure if I have his name right, the gentleman about the human rights said, Saunders, we all need each other. We all need each other, and when I saw the theme for the poetry today, that was going to be spoken today, immediately, the first thought was, maybe because I'm me, I'm the daughter of immigrants, the first thing that came to me was the human rights against the first generations or the generation before the first immigrants are sometimes not fair. And we forget that our ancestors, all of them, came from somewhere. And so I wrote this one piece. There's going to be 2 pieces. I'm very happy to be here with my husband, too. He's going to help me with guitar on the second poem. The first poem, for those of you who know me, I like music in my background, so I'm going to have some background music on. And the poem is called We All Come From Somewhere. And the music's going to be on soon. Also, I'm from a group called Los Escritores del Nuevo Sol, which I'm very proud to be with Laura and others who are here. Beverly, thank you for being here too. So, Escritores del Nuevo Sol from Sacramento. Okay, so this poem is called We All Come From Somewhere. I am the daughter of immigrants. I carry the footsteps they took in every word I speak, in my accent, in the way I work and think of my familia, in my skin, the color of sand where turtles rest and palm fronds die unattended, in my hands when I can't wash the brown away after the day is done. As a young daughter of immigrants, I was secure when I spoke, my eyes making contact, knowing who I was. When I spoke with my accent that sounded like the sing-song of my ancestors. Yet, when I spoke in circles that weren't mine because I wasn't welcomed by microaggressions, backs turned, smiles averted, my spirit would question who I was. I was too different, but I didn't care. I was a lioness in the jungle of people whose accents spoke with power, book knowledge, and elitism that seeped out of their pores. Their clothes covered in repellent against lower classes. I am the daughter of immigrants. My accent is heavy of East Los Angeles coming through, telling it to stop and to go away for now, strangling it in my throat so my tongue would stop moving, my teeth chattering in the sounds of a snake you can't silence behind my lips, wondering if it would be too much for others to handle. So I silenced my voice, refusing to accept the cruelty inflicted on my own spirit. I am the daughter of immigrants who wants to celebrate who I am, each leg stepping over the Rio Grande. When I dance, when I sing, this is me, and no, I will not be silenced. I will refuse to lower my gaze. When I find unaccepting eyes, I realize I've always been beautiful because I was unique. I realize should I have given myself grace. I realize we are all the same, but have so many different things to share. I am the proud daughter of immigrants, the generation that is here and there, who refuses to let go and assimilate. To what? This is who I am. I think in sorrow and acceptance about the future, about how my kids will slowly allow the songs of Mexico to skip on their Spotify, how they switch it up in the station in the car, and what of their children? Who will they be? We have erased our ancestors. I am the daughter of immigrants who's seen the silent murder of her people by everyday life. How assimilation is a need, but also a disease, because it plunders and sticks that knife right in our hearts, telling us to stop dancing the tarantella, the polka, and the waltz. Killing all that we are and were. I am a daughter of immigrants, aren't we all? I was a little slow on the poetry because, I have a little laryngitis. So the next one has a song by a singer called Juan Gabriel, and I'm not sure how many people are familiar with him. He was a very famous singer from Mexico that died, I say recently, last couple of years. But this song he wrote, it was called Ya lo sé que tú te vas, which means, I know you have to go now. And I believe he sang it to a loved one who was leaving. But I applied it to this poem about immigrants that sometimes do have to leave. And again, we're in a time when some of them are deciding to leave on their own before being told they have to leave. This one's called, and this is my husband Frank, by the way. Thanks, Frank. I gotta say, this is his first time performing poetry with me, so I'm very proud of him. He took it upon himself to say, do you want me to play guitar for you? I'm like, yeah.
I am not a musician, okay?
But he plays
I
guitar.
pick up this guitar every 6 months.
No. He kind of knows. So if we're not perfect, okay, we're still a couple.
He hasn't left me.
I haven't left. 40 years. This one's called La Hora, the hour. Hoy me he despertado con mucha tristeza, sabiendo que mañana ya te vas de mí. Te juro mi vida que pensando en lo nuestro me pasé la noche casi sin dormir. Juan José slid out of bed one last time, his feet shuffling, looking for his glasses, his hands calloused, having worked jobs that no one wants to get calloused hands at. An accountant in his country who could not feed his children, he gave this up to trek north to work years back. He knew today was his last day at the restaurant. He would smile anyway. He would greet the customers for the 3600th time in his heavy accent, with a smile that beamed over it. Ya lo sé que tú te vas.
que quizás no volverás, que muy tristes hoy serán mis mañanas si te vas.
His wife hugged him, knowing she would not be held in his arms for some time. His kids asking him in English, "Can we see you in Mexico soon?" The eldest son, coming of age, knowing his papa wouldn't be there, feeling odd amongst his friends, whose papas would not go anywhere, would soon seek out other men to be his mentor. Shifting back and forth from being a little man and curious teen.
¿Hasta cuándo volverás a mis brazos? No lo sé. Será una eternidad. Creo que te voy a perder.
The family couldn't understand how his father, who worked for Riva's Diner for so many years, whose manager's name was Colton, couldn't save him from having to leave. He had done his best to work hard, to be there every day, to feed his family, as he knew this was the best chance for his sons to be safe, to become educated, to be Americans, but who would never forget their ancestors, as it gave them solace and a sense of internal home. Why did the government hate their father so much? A man who hugged them daily and spoke gently, whose calluses spoke of love for them, who would not feel their hugs, but hear his voice on a cell phone.
Ya lo sé, mi amor, que te vas, que ha llegado la hora de decirnos adiós. Te deseo buena suerte. Hasta nunca, mi amor. Adiós, amor. Adiós, amor. Adiós, amor. Adiós, amor.
In the name of politicians, in the name of appeasement for hatred and power and money, in the name of so-called laws, in the name of a country that immigrants built, tell Juan Jose he is not welcome here anymore.
Adiós, amor. Adiós, amor. Adiós, amor. Adiós, amor. Adiós, amor. Adiós, amor. Adiós, amor.
Thank you.
This machine kills fascists. We're going to do one last song. We want you to sing along with us, if you don't mind. Gather around. Come in a little bit. Nate and Steve are going to help me out. I really want to offer a personal thanks to Green Room Social Club. Jen, Ty, and Garrett, the staff, Molly here, everyone here has continually supported diverse voices and LGBTQ community, and we're really grateful to have a place like this in Placerville. So we're going to do a version of Amazing Grace to close this out, and this may sound a little familiar to you because it's to the tune of the House of the Rising Sun. So just don't get confused. You'll just sing the words to Amazing Grace. And I was shown this version by my friend Ed Dunk, and he got it from the Blind Boys of Alabama. So big thank you and to all the poets and speakers, and to Lara and Rena, and Housing El Dorado Progressives, El Dorado Peace, for putting this together, and especially to all of you for coming out and supporting your community and building community through arts. Thank you. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Okay, let's hear you guys. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. When we've been here 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Amazing grace has set me free to touch, to taste, to feel the wonders of accepting love have made me whole and real. Okay, let's hear you guys. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. One and done, Steve.
Hi, I'm Maureen Dion Perry with Eldorado Progressives, and I just wanted to give a big shout out to Lara because she has put together an incredible day for us, and I'm so grateful that you took this on and you just brought together the arts and speakers, and thank you to everyone who's still here, speakers and performers. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Sound good, Steve. Thank you.
It really. It's
Yeah, you should sing on that. You know the song. Well, you know House of the Rising Sun.
I do.
And I sang the lyrics. That's it, girl. You just jump. You're only here for 1 minute. You're only alive for 1 minute, girlfriend. Don't forget. Don't forget. I know how much you like to prepare. I can see how you work. I see how prepared you are. So I understand that. But I'm a fucking fly by the seat of my pants